All right, so welcome, Brother Long and Justin, back together again. And today, what we want to do is we want to take the OKRs that we talked about previously and talk about how it actually relates to day-to-day operations, right? So again, OKRs are your strategic things that you're actually doing, and what we want to do is be able to relate it back to here's what I'm doing from day to day. And based on what you're doing from day to day, well, how does that relate? How does that update your strategy? In the past, people looked at strategy as this thing that was fixed. They did it one time and they kept it the same. And what we want to do is actually think about strategy as something that you continuously update. So I get new information, I can make progress, and so I need to update my strategy accordingly. How y'all feel about that? Does this make sense?
Absolutely.
It's like a living organism.
Correct. And so the only way you can do that is, and the only way it makes sense to update your strategy is by taking information from day to day and using that information to forecast and project where you're going to be in the future. And it's a long process, right? And so there's a couple terms that we have in the industry to reflect all this. I'm going to go over those terms, tell you how it relates, and then we'll kind of go from there. So again, we talked about everything is decomposition. We took an objective, which is like a year-long piece of work. We broke that down. We said, what are your results going to be in 3 months? And that's how we got your key results. We break that down some more because we don't want to wait 3 months before we have any feedback to know whether we're on track or not. So when in doing Agile says that your sprint, the time box in which you do some work, has to be 1 month or less. So let's just pretend that you made your sprint 1 month long, the maximum duration. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did with my OKRs before. With the OKRs, we took an objective that was a year long, and we said, what results will we see? What can be accomplished in 3 months? And we broke that down. Now, what I want to do is the same thing for each of our time box sprints. And I want to say, if your time box is a month, well, out of that key objective, out of that key result that's 3 months long, what piece of that can you actually do within a month? Let's make that realistic and look at it. Now, when we look at something that's really big, often something that is bigger than a single sprint, that's what we call an epic. And when we break something down that can be accomplished within a sprint, we typically call that a user story. So we got stories, and if the story is really big, then it's an epic, right? And again, it's just a way for us to use this terminology to continuously break things down into smaller pieces. And that way we have a handle on everything. Now, what we want to do in order to control all the work is have one list, and then you prioritize the one list where all the work is. oftentimes what people do is they make a whole bunch of lists. And when you make a whole bunch of lists, it's harder for you to prioritize what's most important. So people end up doing a lot of things that are really not the most important things. And so what we want to do instead, you put everything in one list, prioritize that list, and you just work off that list. And it's important because when you, especially when you have employees left to their own devices, they're going to want to do the things that they feel most comfortable doing, but it may not be the most important things. And often what happens is they may start off doing the most important thing. They run into something that stops them, slows them down from doing it, what we call an impediment, and then they'll just switch and do something that's easier. But if you have a list that says, here's the most important things in priority order, as soon as they switch and do something else, you can actually look on the list. You can actually ask them, hey, what are you working on? And then you can redirect them toward the most important thing. And I found that because people are in a habit of always switching to do something that's easier, I have to, as a supervisor, as a manager, I'm constantly redirecting them toward the things that are most important. And that's how we keep our organization aligned, right? And again, I'll have the list, and I make the list visible so they can see. And I'll have meetings, and literally I'll point to it. It's like, what are you working on? You're working on Y. Well, you do know, according to this list, that the most important thing is A. Maybe you shouldn't work on Y. Maybe you should redirect your efforts to A. Right? And again, if I have a post-it, I can actually point to it, show it, read it to them. And it's a gentle redirection that keeps everybody focused on the most important thing. Let me pause. How do you two feel about this?
I'm just curious as to where this list is created at.
Aha. So this is where your tool conversation comes in. So it's in today's world where you're actually working remotely, it's often helpful to have an electronic tool system that everybody can see and everyone has access to.
Yeah.
And that's what Jira is. Jira is that list. So in Jira, you can actually create all the work items that you want to have at all the different levels, from the big epics all the way down to the user stories, all the way down to tasks that people do on a day-to-day basis. You can create all that, create the list in Jira. Now, you don't have to use. I'm sorry, what's that question?
What is a bug?
So a bug is when I'm supposed to do something, but I didn't actually do it correctly. So it comes, it's most famously used in software. So, I'm speaking to you from my iPhone right now. And what's supposed to happen in my iPhone is that when I hit my lock screen and then touch any other, touch the screen again, it's supposed to unlock. But sometimes, even though I have the password protection off on my screen right now, I'll touch the screen and it doesn't unlock the way it's supposed to. Whenever something doesn't work the way it's supposed to, we call that a bug. Now, I have some snarky commentary on the whole bug thing. The whole bug, the whole defect thing is kind of a made-up trick created by consultants. As a consultant, I only get paid for delivery. So if I'm going to get paid, I have to say that I delivered what I was supposed to deliver to you contractually. Now, when I don't deliver something, instead of actually saying I didn't deliver, because I never want to say that because then you won't send me a check. So what I'll do is I'll say I delivered it, but it just has this bug. Right? It needs to get fixed. So let's go through a real course example. Now, you told me contractually to deliver a glass of water to you. And I ran out of time. I'm in California. We in drought. I didn't have the water. I present to you the glass, and I say, here's your glass of water. Oh, but it's got a small bug in it. There's no water in it. Right? Again, it's a way for me to say I delivered to you, but I didn't quite deliver what I was.
I think we lost him for a second.
Okay. Have you, he knows his camera's not on?
Text him.
And sorry about that. I lost audio for a second. I think I'm back now. But
You
yeah.
know your camera's not on, right, Brian?
Yeah. I'm actually,
Okay.
I had to do a quick run and drop my daughter off at school. So I'm actually driving.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, hopefully, as I hope, explain what a bug is and everything.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So let's say I'm looking at what everyone is doing. The person thinks that they've delivered, but I look and I see that what they produce has not met the definition of done. The peanut butter and jelly sandwich has dirt on it. So then I will enter a bug that says that into the JIRA, and they will be able to see that that is the case.
Well, you could, but there's some different options that you can employ. And so let me go over some scenarios and some different options for you.
Okay.
First option, right? So Justin's responsible for making you the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And he's doing it right now. And he did it. He said he finished. He gives you the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And it's not to your satisfaction. It's got dirt on it. He put mayonnaise because he ran out of jelly in there. And but remember what I talked about is how bugs, defects, they were created by consultants to actually claim credit for work that they didn't complete. He didn't deliver what he was supposed to deliver. So the first option, the thing that I would recommend, is actually just telling Justin, look, you created this, but it's not acceptable. So you're just not done. And that way, you don't even have to flag anything in the system. It's no extra work. There was already a user story to create the peanut butter and jelly sandwich in Jira, and it just stays in there. I don't say that it's been done. I don't change the status to accept it, and he just stays with it until he actually finishes. So that's the option I prefer, because what it does is it instills in your workforce a clear direction and a clear dedication to quality. It sends your workforce a message that if they turn in things that are not complete, that they're not going to get away with hiding it. Instead, they're going to be in a situation where you're going to catch it, give them feedback on it, and they need to fix it right away. And that's going to make them more conscientious as workers, right? So that's the avenue that I would want to take if you find those defects immediately. Don't declare a bug. Just tell them it's not done, and tell them keep working on it until it's actually done and meets my satisfaction. Now, sometimes it gets past you. You don't recognize that a defect or something's wrong with the peanut butter and jelly sandwich until afterward. No, so if Justin's really clever, so he ran out of jelly, so he put mayonnaise in there. But he had enough jelly that on the outskirts of the sandwich, you could see the jelly marks, and the mayonnaise is in the middle. So you don't actually find out until later on when you eat the sandwich that, hey, this isn't peanut butter and jelly. It's got mayonnaise in here, right? And that might be the next day, right? So if the time box in which he was supposed to create it correctly has completed or expired, that's the only time I would log it as a bug. Now, I still have the rule, as soon as I figure out that there is a bug, that he hasn't done what he's supposed to, I still want to ship it back to him and then prioritize that work over anything else. Like, fix your mistakes, get the feedback to you as fast as possible. But you can log it as a bug if the time box has expired. Does that help?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And again, as far as managing your workforce, you want to actually get the feedback to people as fast as possible. Because remember, they're doing work. And if they don't get the feedback that the work they did was insufficient, they may not know that they did it incorrectly. And even if they do know, they may choose to continue doing it incorrectly. So you'll have more defects, more things done incorrectly. And it's going to cost you more time, energy, and money. So what I want to do is get them the feedback immediately. Here's what you did wrong. This is unacceptable. If you need help, if you need training, let me go ahead and address it right away. So that way you can produce what I need to produce correctly, and we don't run into a situation where I have to do more and more rework. The faster I train people to work independently to create the product as expected correctly the first time, the cheaper, the less expensive, and the faster I'll be able to have delivery. So I want to get that feedback to people as fast as possible. Likewise, again, I'm going to use this information to make decisions. If you were supposed to make 10 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches this sprint, you had some that I caught that were defective. Justin had to remake them. So now we only have 8. Well, now, if we're on pace to only do 8 per sprint, if the expectation is that we were going to kick out 30 for the whole key result, the whole quarter, that assumes 10 per month, 10 per sprint, but I'm only kicking out 8. So what I want to do is make sure it's well known, hey, you only have 8. So let's reforecast. Let's reset the customer expectations that they probably won't get 30. They're probably only going to get 24 at the pace we're at, unless we make some major changes to do something different. And we can have those discussions over the changes to actually correct what we did wrong, and then maybe make up some time to do something different to make it better. But again, using OKRs and having these things set up at the different levels helps you to see the effects of it. How are you feeling about this?
And so we would discover that during horizontal analysis. We would see which part of the analysis is that. As we see, we've got 8, and we have to decide if we have to go back to SMART. Where does SMART? Where because that's SMART because one of the things of SMART is realistic. Is it realistic or something like that? So is SMART, which part of our analysis, I got it in my notes, but which part of our analysis does SMART come in? Actually, that was one of the first things. That's vertical analysis.
That's right. That's right. And really, where SMART comes in is when I'm setting the goal itself.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that my goal is specific, it is measurable, is attainable, that is relevant and realistic, and is time bound. I make sure that all my key results meet those characteristics. And I'm going to find out when we go through this process that I'm short on meeting my KR when I do the vertical analysis. When I say, hey, if I do this, will it actually get me a step closer to my objective? And when I do my horizontal analysis, I'm going to say, all right, I produced this. Well, producing this plus all the other things I have planned actually get me to the objective for the end of the year, right? So if I'm doing that horizontal analysis, and if I come up short, I plan on getting 10, but I only produce 8 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And I'm saying, hey, if I produce 8 in this quarter, will I be able to produce the 30 I was expected to produce? And if the answer to that is no, then I need to actually reset expectations, possibly do some more strategic planning. So that's how all this works out. What do y'all think about this?
It's exciting. It's exciting. And I'm starting to think more and more just about my own projects because I'm working on the farm, and my supervisor keeps doing the wrong thing because we have a language barrier. He doesn't understand the English. So when I tell him to do something, I'm being clear, but he is not clearly understanding.
Right.
So if I would have been using Jira for my farm and made out my objective, and then develop my OKRs, and then turn each thing we do into 1 week sprints, I could have saved myself a lot of money that I've lost as a result of his mistakes due to us not being in alignment. Me wanting one thing, him not understanding, it has cost me a lot of money, his mistakes. So I'm starting to really see in my own personal life, not just, yesterday I was just thinking of my personal life with small things, but now I'm thinking of my business and how much money I've lost because I don't have these type of things to align myself and my workers.
Right. And I'll tell you, the reason that Agile and OKRs are so focused on creating things in these time boxes is because the time boxes force a mechanism for you to check to make the thing. And here's the rule. The rule is the greater the risk that the folks that work for you could screw something up, the more frequently you should set a cadence to check. So you make your time boxes smaller. So now, if I know that there's this language barrier, and he doesn't understand things, then maybe I don't make my sprints a month long. Maybe I make them a week long. Maybe I make them a day long and I check every day.
Right.
And this is why the decomposition is so important. I take the objectives, break it down into key results. Break that down. What should I see in a sprint? What should I see in a day? What should I see in a half a day? So that you are constantly thinking about observable results that you should be able to see to know that things are on track. Skill set. And once I pick up that and learn that skill set, and we both agree to it, then I can more easily focus my attention to validating that we're all doing the right thing. And I want them getting used to this situation in which they're getting feedback from me. They know I'm validating, and they know when they make variations or deviations from what's intended, that they're going to hear feedback from me, hear correction right away, so that they can correct things right away. And this is a vital part of management. They're going to make some decisions, but they need to know right away whether or not the decisions they're making are the wrong ones. So that way they can make the right decision. And so really, when you think about this, the paradigm shift in the OKR framework and methodology, it's about decision making. I'm really not trying to produce this end result. Rather, what I'm trying to do is get my workers to make the right decision that will produce the right results. And I know that they're making the right decisions because I'm getting the results. If I'm not getting the results, then the decisions they made were the incorrect ones. And we need some training. We need some course correction so they can make some better decisions. And this is a new mindset. It's a mindset shift.
Yeah.
In the past, managers have been so focused on producing the output that they haven't looked at things from this long-term perspective. And I'm introducing the concept of the output is not your goal. Your goal is to get them to make the right decisions. If they make the right decisions, you'll get the results, right? But making the right decisions will last you a lifetime.
Right.
And if you ever want to get free and be able to expand your business, scale it, do more things, you've got to get out of the situation where you're constantly having to monitor so many things, constantly having to tell your employees exactly what to do in detail. You need them to make some decisions on their own. So the problem isn't, in your case, Brother Long, you talked about the translation problem, but the translation problem wouldn't even be that big of a deal if your worker actually could make the right decision to produce the right results there. Because the end results you want, he should probably have a good inkling about what those end results are, even with the communication barrier, right? Like farming is farming. Like I want I want a certain amount of output. I want a certain way. So the language barrier is only part of it. Part of it is his lack of vision, right? Because he should be able to figure some of this stuff out from a decision-making standpoint.
Yeah, so I tell you, the thing that keeps happening is I want him to go find the price of something, take pictures, Send me the pictures so I can decide if I want to buy that thing at that price or not.
Right.
But he goes and buys the thing and then takes the pictures after it's delivered to the farm, so I don't get to choose whether or not I want it at that price. And it winds up being things that are at a very bad price point for me, but they've already been ordered by him and delivered.
Right.
So he keeps thinking about the output that I need, and he thinks he's doing good because he's getting the things to the farm.
Right.
But he's missing that I need to make the decision before those things get there.
Right.
And so that's the thing. So, but if I had it spelled out and I had the steps and I made it clear that I have to okay everything before you order and deliver, we would have been in alignment, and it would have saved me a lot of heartache and money, man, resources.
All right. So now, I'm going to end the podcast with this concept, and we'll pick up on it in the next one. It's going to get deep, though. So we all have viewpoints about the way the world works. And lots of times we call these viewpoints our worldview paradigms. And every paradigm has a group of assumptions, belief systems that goes with it. The paradigm that most people are affiliated with is what I call the output paradigm. And the output paradigm is, hey, you want this thing as an end result. And so they're focused on just trying to get you the thing. And that's where he's at right now, right? The output paradigm. And if you want your business to be more successful, the paradigm you want people in is the decision-making paradigm, where your output, what you produce, isn't a thing. You're producing information necessary to make a decision, or you're producing the decision itself. And how we measure where the decision is correct is the output. And this is a total different way of thinking. And it takes a lot to get people out of the old output paradigm into this decision paradigm. In fact, I'm going to contend that the challenge for modern day management is really not managing activities. Again, when we talk about, I need to actually tell this person what to do and diagram it out specifically, we're trying to manage their activities, right? And what we want to do instead of managing the activities is really manage how they make the decisions. I want to manage their paradigms and how they think about it overall. Because if I can get them to make the right decision, to be more results oriented, I don't have to tell them all the activities. They can figure it out on their own. But I've got to manage the way they believe, their belief systems, in order to get them to that point. And this doesn't just work for employees, it works for your client. I got to manage their paradigms. I got to manage partners, suppliers, right? Other stakeholders are in my business. You're much better off learning to manage other people's paradigms because it has so many applications. And the better you are at managing paradigms in one aspect with one group, it's the same skills to manage the paradigms with all the others. So you'll just be more effective if you master it. What we do now, in contrast, is we manage employees' activities. We try to influence stakeholders and partners and others. We negotiate everything. And those are like different skill sets that you have to build up, and it's harder. And if you just master managing people's paradigms, it works for all the constituent groups. And once you actually master it, you'll have better relationships, better results with everyone. What do you guys think about this?
I just wish that I had known this sooner, and I wish that I would have done. I should have been applying Scrum at least and doing sprints, this whole time. And I wish I would have been thinking like this from the beginning of my objective of establishing my farm. And I can really see how this could have, saved me a lot of wasted money. If I would have been focused on helping my supervisor make the right decisions, as opposed to trying to make him do the right things.
Yeah. It's hard, all right? And once you get into this paradigm, the paradigm of paradigms, and that you're managing it, it'll make you choose different workers too. Because you need to be able to choose the workers that can learn the paradigm so they can make the right decisions. Who I don't have to tell how to do it step by step. Totally different worker, right? And Justin, I think you're on mute.
Yeah. I was just talking to myself. I'm like, it would show you the workers that have those tools already in line, and they need is the vision to take on that mentality. Absolutely, it'd be clear.
Exactly. And again, this is something that it's a different viewpoint, and something that we don't actually look at. And dare I say it, most of us in our community are on the paradigm of the outputs.
Yeah.
In fact, we get upset. Like, you're supposed to tell me, like, if you didn't tell me to do X, Y, and Z, you didn't give me training, then it's your fault if you didn't get the right. I've had people actually tell me that, but not tell me, yell it at me.
Wow.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you what I really like about it, Brian. I think people innately want to do a good job.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's easy to connect with that. And so in most business, if you can relate to the fact that, hey, you're very capable of making good decisions. Here are the decisions I need you to make, and this is why. People will run with that because they want to know the decisions that I'm making are causing a positive influence in the community and the job that I'm doing. You run to that. There's no weight to you as you take that mentality on. Where if you're looking for output, you're searching for a number and you're fighting for this other energy. And then you got to be a special person to just want to ride for a number. Like those are special personalities that really but in every mode of business, if we just want to make the right choice to make a good decision to get a good job, it's very acceptable to our peace. It's very acceptable to just the everyday decision, and it becomes a galvanizing feel, which is why when I heard you explain it, like every aspect from the client to to even investment, and everything is about the mentality of taking on that. I really love it because it's easily galvanizing and you don't have to force that.
Yeah. Again, it's just something that these haven't been introduced to our community previously, and it's a matter of just because it hasn't, it becomes important for you, if you want to be successful, to teach the people you're working with to look at this perspective so they can get better results. But last thoughts before we wrap up for the day.
This is extremely valuable information. And I think we need to come up with a list of different examples, because like that people can relate to. Your weight loss example is great because a lot of people deal with that. Your examples about your daughter is great because a lot of people have children. People that have employees. So maybe we can come up with a few key example archetypes, and then within our sessions, give an example to relate what we're saying to each archetype.
Yeah, I'll do you one better. I'm gonna hit something close to home in our community. Relationships.
Oh yes. Oh, yes, I knew it was coming.
It's all about paradigms, right?
Wow.
So we'll discuss the different paradigms and how to manage it and the effects on our relationships when they're not managed properly.
Wow.
Oh boy, it's gonna be fun.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a big deal. I'm telling you, you're gonna look at your significant others way differently after.
Oh Lord.
That's a good one. Everybody is dealing with relationships, man. And yeah, we can take these things and apply them to relationships. That's going to create a buzz.
And it's relationships is what it's all about anyway. And you want to have a relationship with your, so like it's a direct correlation to a positive flow in your business too and home. So yeah, I love it.
All right, in that case, we'll tune in next time, another episode. Thank you, gentlemen. And
Oh boy.
we'll shove off and we'll get ready for the heat with the relationships in the next episode.